Hey guys, it's Sarcastic Wheathen. I'm back to talk about another build. This one has been kind of blowing up on social media, so I figured I'd do a quick breakdown of it. This is the Warlock Praxic Suspend build. Of course, our exotics are going to be the Deimosuffusion, and what this exotic does for us is any enemies that we suspend with our Rift will do damage over time and also heal us. Any targets that break free from suspension, so champs or anything else that gets out of suspend really quickly, receives additional damage, and we get heals from defeating enemies that are suspended. And then our Praxic Blade, of course. So we're going to be running offensive form. This gives us ammo whenever we attack, which I think is huge. I prefer this over defensive form and balanced form just because I don't want to have to do anything special to get ammo. If I can't get a kill because the enemies are too difficult in like -50 content or like Grandmasters, then balanced form doesn't really work that well. Defensive form can be good, but you have to again block. So if you're spending time blocking, you're not attacking. And so I just like offensive form for that. Forceful Blade gives us better impact. You don't have to run this. You could run something for guard resistance and guard endurance. But as you can see in the bottom right, when we're running offensive form, our guard endurance is very low. So it's not really going to matter. We're not spending a lot of time blocking anyway. We're mostly just attacking. And then Impact Core, of course. We're going to be using this to sever targets when we hit them with the blade. And Sever is a -40% outgoing damage for whatever you sever. And then Hyperblade just to get amplified and also increase your sword swing on block. So I use this for closing the gap between myself and other groups of enemies so that I can suspend them, just so you can quickly close the distance. You could also use an Eager Edge Sword if it allows you to in the activity, if you don't need a heavy. But for certain activities, I'm going to be using like a grenade launcher or something else for DPS, so I would prefer to use that. We'll go over the abilities. So we're going to be running Needle Storm as our super. You have to run a Strand super with Deimosuffusion. It's not the best damage, but it is still okay damage. I use the Healing Rift. In harder content, I find that the Healing Rift is better, obviously, because it heals you. So your survivability is better. You can use Empowering Rift if you're running something that is, lower difficulty, or if you're really not worried about survival. If you think you can survive in the higher content, then go ahead and run that. You do get extra ability regen, and you do get extra weapon damage. Whatever jump you want. I use Arcane Needle. This gives you Unravel, so when you hit targets with it, it'll unravel them, and then when you kill those targets, it'll actually spread to other enemies. So I really like that. And then I use Storm Grenade. This is specifically for jolting Overload champs. So this build is made to stun every champ without using weapons, other than the Praxic Blade for our barrier champs. We're running Feed the Void for Devour. This is an improved version of Devour, which you can see at the bottom. Your Devour effects are improved, restoring additional health and grenade energy. So this will be better than the Devour we're getting from the artifact. And then Weaver's Call I like because you get threadlings for killing enemies. They'll be perched threadlings, and when you cast your Rift, you're going to send those threadlings out. And any of those threadlings that hit enemies gives you back energy for your class ability. So you get your class ability quite often. I'm also using this for the extra fragment slot, just because I want these fragments at the bottom on. So Facet of Protection is going to obviously help us when we're in close range. It reduces incoming damage while we're surrounded. And when we're Transcendent, it's going to reduce that as well. I think it's 25%. Facet of Grace for our Praxic Blade. Our Praxic Blade is a kinetic weapon, so it's going to get us bonus Transcendent energy. That does fill both sides of your Transcendence, dark and light, at the same time. So it's nice because you're just getting Transcendent energy literally just for attacking targets. Facet of Hope. So this is again to boost our class ability regen while we have an elemental buff. So we're going to have Amplified. We're going to have Woven Mail from picking up Orbs of Power. And we're going to have Devour. So all of those are going to be increasing our regen for our class ability. Facet of Purpose. This is what's giving us our Woven Mail. So every time we pick up an Orb of Power, we get Woven Mail. And Facet of Dominance, this is to make our Arc Grenade jolt targets. So the Arc Grenade jolting targets, all this stuff kind of plays into our artifact, right? So the first column doesn't matter. The second column, we're getting Elemental Siphon. So when we kill enemies with a kinetic weapon or a weapon matching our super, it creates an elemental pickup that matches our super. So we're creating tangles with this. Voltaic charge doesn't matter because we're not running an arc or void super. Kinetic synthesis, so this is the white ammo bricks that will be created by our Praxic Blade. And that helps top up your heavy and special, so you just kind of have ammo all the time. Power from Brain doesn't matter. This is the Devour. You could swap this out for another one, but I personally don't see any... I mean, I guess the guard resistance could be useful, but I haven't noticed any difference with these. We don't need it for the unstops because we're going to suspend them anyway. And we're not using a sniper, so... Singularity Blade, this is what we're going to use to spread weaken. So once we have our Devour procced, any sword hits will weaken a target, and then any kills will spread that weaken. Same thing here with Void Infestation. Anytime we defeat a weakened target, it makes a projectile that will weaken other targets. So anything not caught in that weakening burst could be caught by one of these weakening projectiles. Sword Storm combo is just the swirling blades that go around your character. They do good damage, actually, and if we get more kills while we're using these, it will extend the duration. And then Combination Argent Blade is just a buff for the Praxic Blade. It gives it extra bonus damage and charge rate. And then Dielectric is really good, actually, so if you jolt the enemies with your Storm Grenade and then defeat them, you're going to be getting Bolt Charge, and you're going to be getting Orbs of Power that will heal us. For our armor set bonus, we're going to be running a 4-piece Swordmaster. This gives us resist times 4, and the nice thing about that is it's the same resist that you get with Strongholds on Titan. It's very good. I think it's negative 50% damage taken, so it's very, very good. You could use this to close the gap to the next group of enemies. So again, we're blocking with our Praxic Blade to get Hyper Blade, and then we're dashing to the other enemies, right? But during that dash, we're not blocking anymore, and that gives us resist times 4. All right, guys, so I'm going to go over the stats as well. So for stats, I'm running quad 100s. I have not farmed enough gear to get a higher super stat. I think a higher super stat is what I really want, because I think Needle Storm is probably the weakest part of the build, honestly. I'd really like to pump the numbers up on that. You could run a higher grenade stat too if you wanted to. You're going to have your grenade a lot, so you could throw a ton of grenades that do way more damage. So if you wanted to build in that, you could, but it's not like the Getaway Artist build where you have to have 200 grenade stat. You could run a high weapon stat as well, but I think the benefit of the high weapon stat over a higher super stat isn't worth it. I think the higher super stat is better. I don't think you need a higher class stat because the overshield that you're getting, again, isn't a void overshield, so it works a little bit differently. And you're going to have your class ability so often that you're constantly just going to be throwing down rips, so I don't think the damage reduction that you're getting from the overshield is even going to be worth it. Okay, guys, and here are the mods that we're running. So I'm running 1 Kinetic Siphon. This gives us Orbs of Power whenever we kill enemies with our Praxic Blade. I'm running 2 Dynamos because you're going to have your class ability a lot. You could swap out 1 Dynamo for an Ashes to Assets because we're also going to have our Grenade a lot, but I don't think you're getting enough grenade kills. I don't think the energy that you're getting off of grenade kills for your super is comparable to just running 2 Dynamos. 2 Dynamos gives you a lot of super energy back, and I felt like this was the best, but play around with it and see what you think. For our arms, we're going to be running 1 Firepower, so our grenade final blows do create Orbs of Power, and I'm running 2 Bolstering Detonations just to give us that extra class ability regen. For our chest piece, you can run whatever resist mod you need for whatever activity you're doing. For our legs, I'm doing Recuperation, so we get some health every time we pick up an Orb of Power. It's 15 health with 1 Recuperation. I'm also running an Absolution just to, again, increase our ability cooldown, and I'm running 1 Kinetic Weapon Surge just to boost our Praxic Blade a little bit. So, Powerful Attraction I'm running because we're going to be using our class ability all the time. So this will pick up any Orbs of Power that are near us, and obviously proc these other things that are using orbs. Recuperation and Absolution, right? So this helps these two. Bomber reduces grenade cooldown when you use your class ability. Again, this is very much a class ability grenade build. You're using both of those a ton. And then Reaper, so shortly after using our class ability, our next weapon final blow spawns an Orb of Power. So we're going to be making orbs from the Reaper and the Firepower. So that's 2 ways that we're creating Orbs of Power. 3 ways, because we have our Kinetic Siphon as well. Plus the orbs from Dielectric. So you're going to be making a lot of orbs. And that also helps with our ability regen, of course. So for our champions, again, this build covers all champs without using any weapons other than the Praxic Blade. So whatever you want to run in your secondary and your heavy slot, you can run any weapon you want, okay? So for barriers, our Praxic Blade is going to be what's stunning them. For unstops, it's going to be our Rift. So we're suspending them. You're going to have it all the time. You do not have to worry about that. You're going to be able to suspend them like crazy. Your Rift will be back before your other Rift is gone. And Overload, so they're going to be suspended, or sorry, not suspended. They're going to be jolted by our Storm Grenade, and you can also slow them with your Prismatic Grenade. So if for some reason you're in Prismatic and you're like, oh, I need to stun this Overload, you can use your grenade to do that. So we're going to go ahead and do the Grandmaster Vanguard Alert. So this is minus 50 power. So we're capped at 350, the enemies are at 400, and I'll just give you guys an idea of how this build works. You can see the regen of the abilities and how good the survivability is. So we're at the start of the GM, so I'm just going to go up here to these enemies, suspend them, throw down our grenade to jolt. We've got Devour already. You can see our abilities are already back at 3/4 from just killing those 3 enemies. And our abilities are already back. So we'll suspend these enemies again, throw down our grenade, kills them to get Devour. You can see that we're proccing Weaken as well, since we have Devour right now. Remember, we are negative 50 power here. We already have Transcendence. There's a Tangle. Okay, we're almost dead, so we just proc. Suspend for healing. You can see we even get an Overshield. That's not a Void Overshield, but we do get an Overshield when we're sitting in our Rift, just because of the amount of healing. So I'm going to go ahead and go Transcendent. When you are Transcendent, your energy, your ability energy is increased, so you can get a lot of rifts, lots of nades. And we also stay in Transcendence for a pretty long time, because as you're getting kills, it extends your Transcendence, right? So we're going to unravel these guys. You can see all the little unraveling threads are trying to find other enemies. Go ahead and suspend. You still have Devour going, so you have a lot of healing, right? We're getting healing from orbs that we pick up. We're getting healing from Devour. We're getting healing from our Rift. We're getting healing from the Suspend. So we're getting healing from the Dielectric orbs. So lots and lots and lots of healing. And you can see we're just in the middle of all these enemies. We really don't care. You can use your super if you need to, because you're going to get it back so quick, guys. Suspend this unstop again. We've got our super back again. I'm just going to use it because we don't have any bosses or anything we need to use it on right now. And also, guys, I think this build is a ton of fun. I really like the playstyle. I really like how aggressive it is. Coming from a Stronghold Titan build that you could also see in a previous video, I really, really, really like being able to just run around with the Praxic Blade, be very aggressive, not have to worry about enemies. All right, guys, and that's it. So really, really fun build, really aggressive, really good for survival in these higher level activities. In lower level activities, it just destroys everything. You don't even have to worry about survival when enemies are at your power level. But it's good in like the ultimate portal activities. I used it in the dungeon. Obviously, I did 4 feet runs in the dungeon with it. It performs really, really well, and I really like it. So I hope you guys do too.